Hey guys, Joseph Babaifa here. It's another wonderful day at Botanica Candles and More, and I hope you guys are having a wonderful day as well. We were able to come out with some videos recently, and those videos really spawned some great responses as well as questions. So before we get into this video, and if you haven't done it already, please like it as well as subscribe to the channel Joseph Babaifa, and afterwards, please feel free to comment, ask questions, or share as well. So this question comes from a gentleman named Jason. Jason, first and foremost, we want to say thank you for taking the time to watch the video. You had a couple questions based on some of the previous videos that I put out, and we wanted to go ahead and address each and every one of them, right? But the first one we're going to go ahead and get into is a question that was asked about the ceremony known as Paradu, or Oparadu, or more colloquially known as Parado, right? The question was, what is it? When is it needed, and why? So if we're talking about the ceremony of the Oparadu, we have to first really delve into the name, right? And when we look at the word Oparadu, it's kind of three words. It's a compound word, right? So we have the word Opa, which means to kill or sacrifice, Ara, which means body, and Adu, which means behind. So when we kind of translate all of these things and combine them together, it means to sacrifice behind the body, right? And for the people that have gone through this ceremony, it becomes very apparent, why it has this name, right? If we're looking at the concept of Oparadu and we're looking at where it first manifested or manifests the most strongly, it's in the Odu of Oturarico, and within the diaspora Lukumi, Oturanico is how it's spoken or called, is where this was really first manifested. And when we're talking about the ceremony of the Oparadu, I like to liken it probably to the second most strongest cleansing that we have. It's almost Ifa's version of an exorcism, right? And what basically is being done in the ceremony of Oparadu, and the reason I say second because the Ebo pretty much trumps everything, right? There's nothing above Ebo. But Oparadu is right up there. It's very close, but it has a very different nature. If we're talking about the Ebo on the Oponfa, has more of a cleansing, more of a propitiating, more of an offering type feel. The Oparadu is kind of a little bit different. It's a little more violent, it's a little more fierce, and it's a little more intense, right? And basically what's occurring when we're performing the Oparadu, which are only done by Bawalawos, right, as Oturarico states, is basically we're ripping off or expelling any negative spiritualities that may be around you, right? It doesn't necessarily have to be a muerto kuro or a dark spirit or an egun buruku or a twisted egun. It can be any type of negative spirituality that's around you or any type of negative energy. And it doesn't necessarily mean that someone has sent this energy to you. And when we're talking about living in a world such as the one we live in today, you come in contact with different spiritualities all the time. Maybe you were standing on a four corners and something got stuck to you, or maybe you interacted with somebody who isn't spiritually elevated, and because of this, it can negatively affect you. So any of these things could happen. So you can become contaminated, right, with a negative spirituality or energy at any given time. So these are some of the causes. So when are the best times to get a parado, or when are parados really needed? You're going to have one of two situations, right? One situation is if you have the Hand of Ifa ceremony done. There are signs within Ifa where the person has to be regularly doing this ceremony, and you'll kind of get a time frame as far as how often you should be doing it based on the Odu, right? Where within the Afro-Cuban Ifa, all of the Odus have a specific paradu that's done to them. From my understanding, within Nigeria, it's a little bit different, where usually the Oparadu is only sent to occur with the person through divination if Oturarico is revealed, right? So that's one situation. Another situation, and probably the only other situation, is if it is marked by the Ifa oracle. This is a ceremony that is pretty exclusive to Ifa and to the Babalao priests as far as who can conduct them. So you really don't want to be doing it outside of these two scenarios, because parados can be very positive or they can be very negative. I've heard of cases of people simply maybe at a spiritual mass, maybe outside of the Ifa oracle, saying, hey, you need a paradu. without confirming it with the Ifa oracle. And it's not to take legitimacy away from any of the other oracles or spiritism, but these are definitely things that have to stay within, you know, the Ifa corpus and the Ifa oracle to make sure we're not doing more harm than good. Because I've heard of scenarios where they've attempted to do paradus in the case of a egum or a spirit, not knowing that that spirit actually belongs to the person that they're going to be conducting it to. So you're spiritually frustrating that egum by trying to get rid of him. But the thing is, he's kind of connected to that person's soul. And if you get rid of him, you get rid of the person. And that's why he's not going anywhere and he's becoming progressively more frustrated. I've also heard of scenarios where they're like, hey, you need a paradu just to be able to cleanse yourself. Well, paradu is far more than just a cleansing. It's a lot more intense. So these are the negative things that could happen if a parado is mismarked or done without the confirmation of the Ifa oracle, right? But definitely, in that case, you just want to be around a competent Bawalao who can simply, you know, ask Ifa whether this needs to be done or not, right? So that's one aspect, right? So we've gone over when are parados usually done, why are they usually done, and when do we know that a person might be leaning towards needing a parado, right? Parados have certain symptoms, right? One key symptom you're going to feel is a lot of weight on the back of your neck where Ipako or Eshu Ipako lives, right? Which is basically where Egun lives within the body as well. And it's centralized through Eshu, the double spirituality, the shadow, etc. Eshu kind of runs everything back here together with Egun on that part of the body, known as the crossroads of the body where all the nerve endings and everything meets, right? Within the central nervous system. So you're going to feel that. You're going to feel headaches. You're going to feel, you know, periods of depression, obsession. You're going to possibly feel a pain in your ears. You're going to possibly feel earaches, maybe even the occasional of somebody blowing in your ear, someone breathing on you, possibly even when you're sleeping. You're going to feel a heaviness in the joints, you know, throughout the body, and you're going to feel very unmotivated. And basically what's occurring is like this spiritual jet lag from these negative spiritualities and energies being around you. And when we're talking about something like an Egum Buruku or a negative spirit, it's a parasite. It's basically feeding off your fear. It's feeding off of, you know, your depression. It's feeding off of all of these things. So that's why you're going to notice you're going to feel like this during this, because this spirit is putting you in a position to feel that way so that it can continue to basically have this symbiotic relationship with you. Well, it's really not symbiotic, it's parasitic. So you're going to notice all of these things. So if you're having these symptoms, you definitely want to get consulted with Ifa, especially if there's not any medical evidence showing a cause as to why you're feeling this way. So that's key. When it comes to Ifa, you definitely want to be self-analyzing quite a bit. And you also have to, you know, really understand your Odu, because if you don't know your Odu, or you're not around somebody who's teaching you these things, you wouldn't know what to look out for, and you'd think you're just going through a depressive spell when it's probably not that. I've had people, after they go through this process, feel completely different, and you see it within their character, the change, all of these things, and they see a sincere benefit from it. So in that case, the paradu, when necessary, is extremely necessary. When needed is extremely necessary, because, you know, there's very few things within Ifa that can replace this. And I would go as far to say nothing can replace a paradu if it's what Ifa is marking. So that's pretty much the paradu. You know, we talked about, you know, why is it necessary? When is it necessary? And who should be completing this function for you, and all and everything in between. So, you know, if you have any further questions, and, you know, my regards to Jason for asking, thank you so much. If there's any further questions that come from this specific video, guys, please feel free to go ahead and reach out to me. You know, I'm available. And once again, just want to say thank you so much for watching our channel and responding to our videos. If you have a chance, once again, please subscribe, like, share, comment. And, you know, we'll definitely be in contact with you. So, Joseph Baba Ifa again here, once again at Botanica Candles and More. And once again, we just want to say thank you so much for taking the time to watch these videos. And, you know, once again, Iboru Ibo Ibo Chiche. And thank you so much. And have a blessed day, guys. Take care.